Greetings, I'm Sophis. In celebration of a whole year of running this channel and its first video, this is an attempt to work one of Kenshi's factions into Age of Wonders 4. Today's build is a themed build. The point of it is to try and work the idea into the game, rather than focus on pure mechanics. Though it is a fun and functional build. We're bringing the United Cities faction to the fold. In Kenshi, they are one of the major powers. And depending on who you ask, they are the least worst option of major faction to support. Least worst being the words doing the heavy lifting here. But we're not here to discuss the very complicated morality of that setting. Let's get to the build. The form traits are Desert Adaptation, Strong, and Quick Reflexes. The culture is Oathsworn, with the Oath of Strife. None of the other subcultures really capture the dark side of the United Cities, so to speak. Society traits are Imperialists and Merciless Slavers, of course. I'm sure you saw that part coming. The first tome is going to be Tome of the Rock, and the leader is a champion. After all, the ruler of the United Cities is Emperor Tengu. He really doesn't seem like that big of a fighter compared to the other leaders in major factions, but he does carry around a katana. Due to that, I've chosen to have him as a defender, though he will mostly play battlefield commander and use the mount for self-defense purposes. The tome setup is as follows. Tome of the Rock for the overall early game utility of the Central Quarry Special Province. The Obsidian Weapons enchantment is a good buff without being too magical in nature, boosting physical damage. Besides, the more supernatural effects in this build can be toggled off to keep the more grounded aspect of Kenshi's characters. Earthkin is a race transformation that boosts defense and gives some benefits in mountainous terrain. Pick it or skip it. Simply toggling off the look makes it a free boost to your units. Tome of Discipline is next for the other solid buffs to your basic troops. Inner Mastery, like Earthkin, is a minor transformation giving good passives. Empowered Strikes gives more physical damage and a chance to stun. Doom Herald starts off Tier 2. From here we want Joy Siphoners to lower enemy morale, and Cruel Weaponry to increase damage to lower morale enemies. This is one half of a strategy involving breaking the enemy and capturing them, meant to represent how the United Cities rely a lot on unpaid intern labor. Yeah, let's go with that. The next tome is Tome of Shades. The Shade is the ninja of Age of Wonders, and the Traders Guild, who are a part of the United Cities, have ninja in their employ. Simple as that. It's a nice high-tier alternative to the Warbound, giving you more options to mix and match. Living Shadows gives a chance to blind, plus more evasion, and Shadow Blades gives you defense ignore, very handy. Tome of Subjugation is the other half of the capturing enemies strategy. Intimidation Aura compounds on morale reduction, and Final Ultimatum gives you a chance to capture enemy units. Subjugating Raid plays well with the Oath of Strife playstyle, and Baron's Palace will be a good structure, since you will need to capture cities from different factions to really get the United Cities feel, as you can, sadly, only have one form type per faction. We return to Tier 2 with Tome of Artificing next. The Artisan Armaments enchantment helps with the critical rate, and doesn't feel that magical, keeping things grounded. There's no other major reason to pick this tome other than affinities. At Tier 4 we go for Golden Realm. The Reagent Refinery, Luxury Markets, and the Bazaar of Wonders boost the economy, as does Golden Touched. You can avoid the Gilding Blast and the Gold Golem if you don't want the fantasy aspects of this tome. Realistically, at this point, your only other option is Tome of the Crucible. Meteor Arrows gives area damage, and the Foundry helps draft and gold. But I realize this already goes into the more fantasy side of things. Just say they are putting explosives in their projectiles and disable the enchantment. The only Tier 5 tome you qualify for is Tome of the Creator, but really, pick anything you like if you've got this far. The build's pretty much done by the time Golden Realm shows up, and it really is more about theming in this case. In campaign, to keep consistent with Kenshi, you'll want to stick with the melee infantry for the most part. Honor Blades and Sworn Guard will be the bulk of your armies, and the Warbound and Shades are your elite. Conquering other cultures, however, will allow you to get loreful units, such as Arbalests from the industrial culture. Your economy should allow you to field both a mix of low-tier and high-tier infantry, with other units depending on what your opponent and the wilderness provides you. In this aspect, it is a lot like the Sneaky Afflictors build, which also relies on vassalizing and conquering other cultures to expand their roster. As far as your heroes go, warriors, defenders, and death knights work well. Given the morale-breaking strategy, death knights work very well due to the terrifying aura and will-breaker abilities they have on their trees. Heroes who are dominators are also very good for this strategy, as the normal gameplay will improve their renown and give them the ability to seize control of enemy units, snowballing the strategy of seizing enemy forces. You'll also have enough Chaos Affinity to eventually unlock Lure of the Horde in the Empire tree, letting you get lower tier troops as reinforcements every other battle. Unfortunately, we don't have yet any way to make custom realms to the point of being able to recreate Kenshi more accurately, or even a good form trait to represent the skeletons. However, I've played and tested this build on the closest I could make it to Kenshi. The realms got barren oceans to represent the emptiness of the wilderness of Kenshi between the civilized locations. Naturally, it'll be a desert realm as well. Wildlands was added to represent the beasts and natural perils, since Kenshi doesn't really have supernatural threats. I've chosen to add the No Free Cities modifier since there's no way to reliably customize them, and that would bring all sorts of different creatures that don't match the theme. If there had been a way to do so, they could have represented the many minor factions in the game. Relative map size is large, with 6 players total. Ascension traits are off, as well as Pantheon stuff. No expansion or magic victory either to ensure the only way to win this match is with war. The AI rulers participating in this are pre-made. I've made Boss Simeon of the Rebel Farmers as a major ruler since we are playing the United Cities, so it made some sense to include one of their detractors as a major power. Of course, we have Azata the Stone Golem representing the Shek, who are decently represented by the Ogre form. Then we have Holy Lord Phoenix and the Holy Nation. In addition to that, I've made the Queen of the Western Hive to be a slightly more neutral faction, and the Queen of the South to add a hostile Hiver faction. I haven't made any full build for any of them, just giving them basic starter tomes that seemed right for their faction. The rest was up to the AI. I'd like to say that it spawned as I hoped and I got Boss Simeon on my borders, so I would have a rebellion to quell, but unfortunately our first enemy was the Western Hive, followed by the Shek and the Southern Hive. Still, it was interesting to have enemy rulers that were all champions. Even if their cultures had some magical units, combat felt a little more grounded, and all the desert storms in the barren regions really favored melee combat over ranged units. All in all, it felt close enough to Kenshi. As close as one could make it without modding. I didn't want to give you something that would require them for you to try out. So the goal was to tinker with what's readily available in Vanilla Age of Wonders to emulate the setting. To me, it felt like I had a good mix of elite troops and lower tier units, and that I could enslave the enemies to keep my war momentum going. Overall, a simple but very solid strategy. Anyway, that's about what I have for you today. If you'd like me to try and remake another faction as a build, please tell me below. I hope you're having a good day, and see you next time.